for the block. He felt charged.
Oh, and he found
wow.
Wow.
Oh, what?
Somewhere there's a covert muffin just applauding this seed.
Holy crap.
Oh man, this is gonna come down to execution in the final escape, isn't it?
Sure is.
Every seed
Our
does.
favorite phrase.
And folks, welcome back. We are here with the 2021 Ori and the Blind Forest Randomizer Tournament, and we are going to be featuring a preliminary race, which is a free-for-all race. But for your viewing pleasure, we are going to be showcasing off two runners in particular as a head-on-head matchup, which is going to be Turtle versus ernEst. That being said, my screen name is Covert Muffin, and I am going to be joined on comms for this one with Grimelios. Grim, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I appreciate that your name was mentioned in the intro cinematic. I've done so many races, I haven't actually watched it that many times. But yes, this race is an exciting one. I'll toss back to you if you want to introduce our good friend Turtle.
Yeah, sure. So we got a chance to talk to our runners before this race tonight, and Turtle has some interesting things to say as we are coming to a close in the preliminary 2 weeks going on. Turtle is just hoping for a seed today that is not going to rando them and is a little bit intimidated by their opponent. They think that they have a little bit of a disadvantage in this matchup, but utilizing keyboard and mouse, they are going to try their best and really focus on having a lot of fun as they have been having so far with the tournament.
Yeah, and on the right side of the screen, we're going to have ernEst, a very comparable player to Turtle. In a lot of ways, they both play on keyboard mouse, as most Ori Randomizer players do. Both players have done 5 prelims already, and their preliminary rankings are very, very close. So I'll be very curious to see how this one plays out. I think it's very difficult to kind of point to a clear favorite in terms of being likely to win. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's a really interesting point that you just made about how close their standings are. And basically, we take the top 5 times or placements that people end up getting based on how many preliminaries that they actually end up running. And being this close means that whoever actually ends up winning this comparative match today could actually decide some placements in the bracket stage itself. That will be actually starting this very coming week after this weekend.
Yeah, one thing to point out, this is something that any of you who have been watching this tournament over the prelims so far may have heard already, but the way that we being the organizers, set up the rankings in terms of the preliminaries is that once you've done your 5 races, doing more than that can strictly help you. It cannot hurt you. And so, obviously, both Turtle and ernEst going to be hoping to get a high placement in this particular race to up that score. But even if things go very badly, if one or both of them get randoed, the good news is that it will not harm their score.
That's excellent. All right, folks, here we go. Turtle is going to be on the left. ernEst is going to be on the right as our timers start ticking down. About 10 seconds to go. And then below the game windows themselves, you're going to notice some trackers, which are going to be tracking the skills as well as skill locations that they're actually going to be ending up collecting. But Grim, the traditional question for you, what are you hoping for the first pickup?
I got to go with double jump, because ernEst specifically called out double jump as something that he wanted.
Yeah, double jump, a really incredible skill. Augments every other thing, gives a little bit of air retention, gives a little bit of verticality. Definitely one of the best skills to be utilizing here. And here we go. Here is the first pickup. It is going to be climb. Oh man, another climb seed, Grim.
How do you feel about climb seeds?
Well, I am particularly on the fence of whether or not I like them recently, just because of little physics RNG that can come into play if you try and do a difficult sequence break. But it's very nice to start out with, especially going into the late game where there's going to be a lot of different skills that are going to augment well with it, especially the power skills themselves. But Turtle, making a very interesting play to grab the Rhino XP, is going to realize that they don't necessarily needed to do that. So just a little bit of time loss, but it looks like Turtle is going to make the play for Blackroot Burrows before checking pickups 3 and 4 next to the 2 key door. And this saves about 1.5 seconds, unless something else is found.
Yeah, I do like that play to turn around and grab that Rhino XP. It's not something you see frequently because it usually isn't required, but it really sucks to have to watch that BRB, Blackroot Burrows, sorry, entrance cutscene if you don't have to. Ernest on the right is going to go check some of those two early pickups that we have available. It's possible we'll get 2 Keystones, but unlikely.
Okay, interesting play also. Turtle is actually opting to do the same, and so we are going to have a sync on both of our runners. As over on the right, Ernest finds a health cell, which is a really, really nice safety resource.
Nice safety resource, and also something that may be relevant. I don't know about you, I'm already kind of trying to think towards the end. Never mind, I'm going to interrupt myself. That's Charge Flame. How does Charge Flame work, Muffin?
Yeah, Charge Flame is really excellent. Right now it costs half an energy, but once they level up an ability, it's going to allow them to cast this for free. Basically, you charge it up, release it, and allows you to break blue things. So blue plants, blue walls, and deals a nice bit of AoE damage. Over on the left, just a little bit of spaghetti here for Turtle, no problem. Just maybe some early run nerves. They mentioned that they might make a few executional mistakes, but I'm sure he will be able to shake it off. Meanwhile, on the right, Ernest is going to move around this ability menu just simply to cross a cutscene trigger and save the game. And quitting out and reloading is going to allow them to skip this cutscene.
Yeah, unrelated to specifically the cutscene, but I just want to point out, you see Ernest's Ori color cycling in rainbow style. That has no effect on the functionality of the game at all. It's purely cosmetic, just in case anyone was curious.
Yeah, for sure. And so really interesting so far is that there's only a few pickups left in Logic itself. This little EXP orb, as we see in the upright, that's gated by this sort of holographic ghost spooky wall that this orb is going to allow us to disable. But also no keystones yet, no teleporter. Is there a sort of right side progression you might be hoping for, Grim?
I think what I'm going to want to see is some verticality. I mean, one way or another, we know that one of these pickups is going to get us somewhere, but sometimes in these kinds of climb-only seeds, well, now we have wall jump, but even so, it doesn't get us much verticality. Sometimes you end up getting sent to Grotto early or to the Swamp Loop, and without verticality, you end up having to leave a lot of pickups behind. Quick death by Turtle on the left.
All right, and so here we go. Ernest is going to be coming back into Blackroot Burrows, and there is going to be 3 more pickups in Logic for them. One of them, or 4, excuse me. One of them is going to be in this main hall. Another one's going to reveal itself after the lie's disabled, and with wall jump, that actually adds another one in for lower BRB. So we will see those pickups in a bit, but pretty nice linear start for both of our runners.
And a good job by Ernest to just make that platform cycle. Missing it costs 8 seconds. There's kind of a meme in the Ori community because a lot of different tricks end up costing you 8 seconds just coincidentally. But overall, very clean execution by Ernest so far. A nice clean climb ramp earlier, the same one that we just saw Turtle do, and so far hasn't made any mistakes in Blackroot that I've seen.
Yeah, I'm very impressed so far with Ernest's opening performance. And this is one of the most important things for speedrunning randomizers, having really clean sections, especially early on in the seed, while things are still linear for the sequences of a race. But that being said, also, Blackroot Burrows is not a forgiving section. There's a lot of spikes that end up dealing 2 damage. There's a lot of instant kill death lasers. And then there are also a lot of mean slimes that can just ruin your day and cause you to fall all the way down. And on the left, nice Turtle nailing a really tight jump. That is actually a lot more precise than it may look initially. So probably going to be feeling good with being able to make it over there. And meanwhile, Ernest is going to be doing a little bit of cutscene entering.
It's always a relief to get to this point in Blackroots, especially because you're at such low energy this early in an Ori seed that you can't really make a lot of safety saves. But Ernest just pulled off a save anywhere trick, going to do something that we call the cutscene stack, as a way to let the cutscene play out while regaining control, to go and quickly grab this Mapstone out of sequence, just experience this time, but I mean, hey, a level's nice. And shortly we'll be picking up the dash tree.
All right, the dash tree just experienced, so there are 2 more pickups that are in Logic, but that Crusher having 157 experience could mean that dash is most likely somewhere either in the mid game or very, very late game. It's not going to come up in Glades or even potentially Grotto, but a Keystone, so there's 1 more pickup that can be checked. And Ernest, instead of deciding to Altar, is going to ride these platforms up, but no problem. They are fast on their way to get to Boulder Escape.
Yeah, riding these platforms looks very slow because it is, but this is such an awkward pickup. Like, if you're lucky enough to have some strong verticality, like Bash Grenade or Charge Jump, you can get out of this quickly, but otherwise, Muffin, you might know this. I don't know offhand whether it's faster to do this or Alt-R. It's pretty close either way. So ideally what you're able to do is rekindle that save and then back out of it, but you have to keep the keystone at this point in the seed because it is likely, we'll see shortly, but it is likely that there's a keystone. Turtle, by the way, accidentally took a death in the Crushers. May have been a slightly buggy one, hard to say.
Yeah, just like even riding on top of these Crushers, if one mean pixel just decides to ruin your day, just absolutely can. Turtle making note that the EXP value is pretty up there, and so is going to be drawing some expressive mouse cursors there. And there it is. Keystone 2 is going to be the next bit of progression, which does put Glaze into logic. Meanwhile, once again, just saving the game and quitting on reloading, ernest accidentally opening up the settings menu is going to allow them to glitch out this boulder, which is going to remove most of its instant kill death planes associated with it.
Sorry, I want to draw attention over to the left. Turtle did not go and get the keystone that is at the ability cell in the middle of the main room of Blackroot, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm not seeing any keystones there in Turtle's inventory, so we're going to see if Turtle is going to get a little stumped by this or not. Or maybe there's going to be something in Boulder Escape that they are going to sequence break and think that they are good to go.
Yeah, this sequence break with the save anywhere trick is not in logic. It's something that most runners will do when they get here, but it's not in logic. What that means is that we might get something like a keystone or a teleport or something that opens up additional progression, but if so, it will have been out of logic.
Right, for sure. And so I like this play from Turtle, just coming back, rekindling the save before trying the Crushers again. This is a really important race strategy in general. It's just to save more often than you think you need to. Because there is no real checkpoint system in this game except for very, very, very specific spots. And so taking deaths can cost us minutes, literally.
Yeah, over on the right, ernest just used a mapstone in the first map pedestal. Now, the players are not really meant to have one of those mapstones yet because it was acquired from an underwater pickup that we would call Fake Flippers as an homage to Link to the Past. But diving in this dirty water to get this pickup is out of logic. So it's nice to get that progressive map alter out of the way. We'll see whether it becomes relevant later. ernest definitely with a nice lead to start.
Yeah, Turtle notifying that they recognize that they only have one keystone, so they are going to be going back into Blackroot Burrows. This is really nice to see that they are aware of keeping track of the pickups. And this is honestly one of the hardest parts of running randomizers in general. And whoa! Really quickly, over on the right, ernest is going to be using that charge flame pickup to find Bash. That is huge.
It's huge, and it's huge this early in the seed. It certainly makes the final escape way at the end a lot easier, and just makes a lot of traversal everywhere a lot easier. That Bash location is one that's obvious enough that Turtle will almost certainly find it in the near future. But I mean, hey, early Bash is nice.
Yeah, that's great. It's like Bash is literally the most powerful skill in the entire randomizer. It allows us, with WoW interaction, to get access to every single skill tree except for one, just all by itself. And so, absolutely, really nice to be able to have that. And whoa, heads up play from Turtle on the left, doing that poison swim. Had a little trouble and wasn't able to check that pickup earlier in the seed. But yes, it looks like, yeah, Turtle is absolutely going to find Bash here. So no real early skill find advantage for ernest.
I want to point out a subtle strat that Turtle did early that I'm really a big fan of. Normally, when players unlock abilities in Ori Seeds, they will often do it in kind of the same order, getting Magnet and then Rekindle. Turtle decided to put all points so far into the blue tree in order to take the Charge Flame from half an energy cost, which is a modification the Rando DLL makes, all the way down to free, and did that earlier than ernest, although I'm sure ernest will do that in the near future. That's a nice heads-up play by Turtle.
Yeah, really nice. Okay, and so both of our runners, once again, on a bit of a linear path. They do have the capability of actually sequence breaking to the right side of the map using Bash. We're going to see if any of our players opt to do that instead of going through sort of Grove proper. And oh, scratch that.
Amazing.
We find Stomp. Yeah, from ernest. That's really nice.
Stomp is great for combat in the early game. More importantly, there are some pickups in the game that are hard locked by Stomp. That may not be relevant, or it may be relevant. Wait and find out later whenever we get our dungeon clues. Or, sorry, our key clues.
Yeah, for sure. So some nice cleanup from ernest here, going to be finding an additional energy cell. Having energy is just so nice, as Grim mentioned, to be able to save the game, as well as a pair of keystones. So We're going to see if ernest is going to opt to actually go up to Spirit Caverns or check the wall jump tree. No, I like this play a little bit more, as over on the left, Turtle is going to find Stomp themselves.
Yeah, it's an interesting progression so far. The progression has been pretty linear. Both players had to dip Black Grouper's first in order to get those 2 keystones, and so far they haven't found any way to progress outside of the Glaze area and Spirit Caverns, which we haven't seen yet. But we know that one of those areas must have progression. It might be that they're just expected to use 4 additional keystones to head through Spirit Caverns, or they might find some other form of progression that lets them save those keystones.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. We are seeing a lot of keystones come out on the map, which is sort of an indicator that it has a little bit of a higher probability that getting out of Spirit Caverns and going through Spider Sack area to Hollow Grove is going to be the play to be able to get access to the right side of the map for logic. But there's a little bit of a quicker way to be able to get to the next skill location, which is going through Boulder Escape and stomping a pig now that they have that skill.
That's right. We do have our first clue, which is the swamp. The water vein specifically is in swamp. There is at least 1 grenade lock pickup in swamp, so maybe relevant, maybe not. Right now, I want to draw attention to the right side, where ernest is going to be the first to head into Spirit Caverns. It might be the case that we just get a bunch of keystones and end up going through the door, or maybe we find something more exciting.
Okay, and so ernest, trying to get just enough height to be able to check this pickup, nicely done, does indeed find another keystone, and 3 energy and 5 health currently on the map for ernest, so another form of progression that could end up just coming up here right now is just finding a 4th energy cell. So we'll see what happens. There's going to be 1 more pickup to check, but oh no, they already have 4 keystones, so yeah, right side of the map is broken wide open.
Well, speaking of right side, let's look at the other side. That was a terrible transition. Turtle, who was on the left, did what you described, teleported back to the Black Root Burrow's teleporter. Getting here is still technically out of sequence because we had to use the Save Anywhere trick to get past the boulder. Is going to use Stomp to open the peg and take a shortcut into Grotto. This may pay off for Turtle. It might be a play that Turtle does every time. I'm not sure without speaking more to Turtle about his playstyle. What's difficult is that right now Turtle still doesn't have much verticality, which means Turtle may be forced to leave certain pickups in Grotto behind.
Yeah, and with Stomp and Bash, this does actually open up a lot of pickups, especially in Spider Sack area. Meanwhile, ernest gets their 4th energy in Valley entrance itself, and on the left, Turtle making the play into Moon Grotto. This gets them to the skill location a little bit sooner, gives them access to a nice high-density area of some pickups. So we're going to see how much digging each of our runners is going to do respectively before moving on to the primary objective, which is activating every single skill location on the map, and then starting and finishing the final escape.
Well, I said a moment ago that Turtle might not have enough verticality, but through a clever sequence of double bashes on a spider projectile, I was able to get pretty close, and can now bring the frog over. That's another heads-up play. Part of getting good at randomizer is learning where various bash targets are to gain height. So that's a smart play.
Yeah, nicely done, as we see in the instant replay in the bottom left-hand corner. Being able to check that pickup and then get over the poison water without taking any damage. And doing the same with the frog shot to be able to get back over there. Very, very nice. Meanwhile, on the right, ernest is going to be checking this pickup here, double bashing this Frankie up, also showing off their prowess. And they find Glide, Grim. Wow.
Now that Glide by itself is very, very important, especially for traversing Sorrow. But that pickup location is one that I believe you have strong feelings about.
Yeah, so that pickup right there is a notorious race killer for me. I've lost my most randomizer races just simply because of not checking that pickup when a skill was on it. So we're going to see, actually, for the state of this race, that could actually be massive, because if our runners don't find charge jump, if they don't find grenade and double jump, Sorrow could be really, really tough for Turtle without that glide pickup. But on the left, Turtle is going to indeed find clean water.
We talk a lot about power skills in the randomizer. So far, we've found not only power skills, but power events. We've found a clean water, which is really, really powerful. Means that the end of the final escape is going to be easier, but also opens up some additional pickups in many different areas. I didn't expect to see this much of a split. ernest on the right is actually taking an early left side by using Bash and Stomp. This isn't the easiest section to get through, although Feather makes it easier with that additional air stall. I think ernest, is waiting for an extra save to get some health back.
Yeah, this is a really wild play, and for people who are slightly unfamiliar with the randomizer, the reason why this is so significant is that the right side of the map takes less skills and or resources for it to come into logic. So it has a higher probability of finding your next skill, which is going to unlock something significant for pickups or areas of the map to be able to get access to. So ernest, over on the right-hand side of the screen, coming over to the left side of Nibel, might have a slightly less probability of finding something important, but they also could just completely luck out, because since our randomizer hit the patch 3.0, a lot more pathways to the left side of the map became opened. So this might not be such a bad play in the end.
Well, it's like one way or another you have to come to the left side, and this is certainly a valid option, which is why ernest is doing it. Sometimes you will see players try to hold off going left side because it's possible that you find a left side teleporter, which means that you don't have to do a lot of this movement. However, it's also possible that one of the items along these paths ends up being important. We'll have to speak with ernest after the race if they decide to interview to see what his thought process is right now, but I don't know, there's a lot going through my head. I have to imagine there's a lot going through these runners' heads as well. This is just such a fertile opening that it's not always obvious where you should be going first optimally.
Man, this heads up play also from Turtle on the left I'm really impressed by, especially when you get something like Bash and Stomp early in a seed. It can be very easy to forget about pickups that came very, very early in the logic, which is here in Spirit Caverns where Turtle is currently digging, that could have something significant. And this is like a really nice place. It only takes 30 seconds to walk back to the door, and then it has 5 pickups that are very, very fast to check. And I just want to also applaud Turtle on their execution. I've been seeing very, very few errors in the meanwhile, in the meantime. Whereas at the beginning of the run, it was very clear that nerves were coming to play. So wait for Turtle to be able to stabilize their hands, their minds, and be able to execute this stuff really well.
Yeah, ernest successfully got Feather, so that's good. That's one of those left side. It's not a tree, but it's still a skill that you have to get to complete the randomizer. And decided to teleport back to the Glades teleporter, is now going to go off to the right without 4 energy to open up the Death Gauntlet door. Another nice heads up play. If you can go through the Death Gauntlet, that allows you to get some pickups out of the way while also reaching Grotto and unlocking that Grotto teleporter. This can often be a much more efficient play in terms of checking stuff than doing what Turtle did, which is going through Blackroot Burrows.
Yeah, and over on the right, ernest is going to be making some checks that we haven't actually seen yet. Using the Frankie to be able to get up is going to have to kill the Frankie before Charge Flame gets close enough, and we find a map stone there. But very, very nice action to use that 4 energy in order to be able to go from the starting area to this area that we named Death Gauntlet for the main speedrun category, all skills, that has a very difficult section for this in the run itself. But making their way into Moon Grotto is probably going to be heading down to Double Jump Tree next.
Yeah, Turtle over on the left doing what we saw ernest do, which is heading into Valley. I will be curious to see how thorough ernest is in terms of clearing out Grotto. It seemed like Turtle was pretty thorough, which makes a lot of sense this early on the seed, but also with Bash and, well, Turtle doesn't have Feather yet, but ernest has Feather. With those two things, you kind of already have to start thinking about the end game, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely wild, and that just speaks lengths and strides of how insane Bash is as a standalone skill. ernest taking a little bit of a death, no problem, is just going to come back into this section here. Going through this vertical column of spikes is going to be able to check 2 pickups here. First one is just an ability cell in that plant that they use Charge Flame to be able to break. And up next, they are going to be bashing the Spider Shot to get a little bit of height, which is another ability cell. Ability cells are actually very, very nice and have like quickly evolved into probably being the most important resource to find, especially for the mid and end game sections with skill-starved sets. So very, very nice finds there from ernest. They do find another ability cell. Very nice.
I also just want to point out, Turtle on the left did find that clean water pickup, which we know is the keystone before the 2 keystone door on the double jump approach. Well, let me interrupt myself. Wind Restored, found by ernest over on the right, in combination with Feather, that's going to make getting into Sorrow Pass and clearing Sorrow an absolute breeze. Sort of, pun intended.
Yeah, and this is, like, for the state of the race itself for Turtle versus ernest, this is becoming a little bit more and more scarier for Turtle because they didn't end up checking that pickup above Sea Flame Tree after climbing up through Spirit Caverns that we saw ernest end up tracking down. So no glide means that that Turtle is not going to be able to effectively utilize Wind Restored if they end up finding that as a pickup.
Yeah, and as you discussed earlier, that particular pickup above the charge flume tree is not likely to be one that you go back to later, especially when you have so many power skills. Well, not so many, just Bash really, but it's so powerful by itself that in combination with a lot of these other things that we have might be something that we just don't see Turtle find at all.
All right, and so here we go. Turtle is going to be getting their glide tree next, and then activating Valley Teleporter. Will be interesting to see where they go from here. ernest, meanwhile, oh man, ernest must have loaded a backup save because they were rechecking pickups in Death Gauntlet, Grim. Oh my goodness, that is such a big time loss. That's so unfortunate for ernest, as they take another Death to a Crusher and have to go all the way through back this Death Gauntlet section.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you mentioned a moment ago that this race was becoming more difficult for Turtle, which is true. But that kind of a mistake by ernest, although unfortunate for ernest, is good for Turtle, although Turtle, of course, doesn't know that because this is a randomizer, which means that you can't watch your opponents. Turtle, over on the left, is going down into the upper Lost Grove, lower Blacker area in order to approach the grenade tree, something we haven't seen ernest do yet.
Okay, and here we go. Turtle's going to be bringing up the ability menu, going to allow them to be able to save the game at any point that they desire. So here, the laser is going to fire, and then they are going to spend an ability point, which is going to allow them to save. And nice, gets through with 2 saves. That is excellent. Currently having only 1 health because they just got a health pickup. But yes, very, very nice. Next, double bashing this Baneling. No glide, no double jump for Turtle. Has to have nearly flawless angles on these, and oh no, just accidentally bashes the Baneling into them. You actually cannot bash Ori in the same direction as the Baneling itself. You have to do them at an acute angle in order to be able to not take instant death.
Yeah, also good usage of that zombie trick to get through the laser, while Turtle also carefully leaving himself 1 additional ability point to skip an upcoming cutscene, which is very long if you have to watch it normally.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that was close because they were like hovering on one that costs 2 ability points, and they're like, oh wait, no, I only have 3. So very, very heads up play. And there it is. They get up, they skip the like a minute and a half cutscene or something like that. Like it's a very long cutscene. And Turtle is going to be able to make it to the light grenades skill location for the next clues. So Grim, is it going to be Gumon Seal? Is it going to be Sunstone? We'll find out in a moment.
You know what? It's going to be Gumon Seal. I'm calling it. Even though it's a 50-50 shot, well, never mind. Who cares? You know what? It was the Gumon clue, but we got the Sunstone. That is incredible. Oftentimes, more advanced randomizer players will talk about rushing trees, all else equal, and that's kind of precisely the reason why. Because if you happen to find a very powerful, important object like the Sunstone on one of your primary objectives anyway, that can save you a lot of time in terms of finishing the total seed.
Yeah, precisely. And so that's actually good news for ernest, because as we saw, Tree 6 was going to be the Gumon Seal clue, but if ernest is going to be able to get down to Light Grenade Tree in either a similar fashion or maybe an easier fashion that we saw Turtle end up going through, then that is going to allow them to not have to worry about checking additional pickups in an area like Misty if they are trying to not accidentally rando themselves. So for Turtle, having Sunstone, that's really, really nice. Now all that Turtle needs is the necessary skills to be able to check every single skill location, and then the ability to be able to finish the final escape.
Yeah, although I will say, as with Bash earlier in the seed, ernest found it first, but Turtle was always going to find it because it was in such an obvious location along the main path to the Charge Flame tree. Mm-hmm. ernest is definitely going to find the Sunstone whenever he decides to head over to the grenade tree. So it's great for Turtle to have it. May save some time in terms of not checking some pickups as you described.
Right.
But I wouldn't call it too much of a competitive advantage.
For sure, yeah, for sure. So here we see Turtle checking a plant, finds Charge Dash efficiency, which ends up cutting the energy cost of an ability known as Charge Dash in half. But that's not going to be too useful because we don't have the dash pickup yet. But Turtle, on the left, is going to be going to Upper Swamp Loop to be able to start making progress to their next skill location, which is going to be Stomp Tree in Thornfelt Swamp, well as potentially tracking down Water Vein, having clean water, and the likes. The only pickup that could be a problem for Water Vein to be now in Logic is if it is at one of the 2 grenade-gated pickups in Swamp.
Yeah, that's right. I want to point out on the right, ernest spent a little bit of time trying to double bash a spider projectile to get to one of the lower left grotto pickups that is normally out of sequence. Took a handful of attempts, but was able to do it successfully, so good job to ernest. Also now checking this other part of grotto that we generally call the vault, something that I don't believe we saw Turtle do, so we'll see if there's anything valuable down here.
Yeah, here we go. Just 16 experience at that one pickup. Using glides to great effect. Very nicely done. Doesn't quite have enough energy to be able to drop a save, so probably is not going to end up doing the save drop, but no problem. The block is right there to be able to do the puzzle in the intended fashion.
Yeah, nice swamp entry by Turtle over on the left as well. Swamp entry is a trick that's used in the all skills category of this run, where you bash a frog to get through some barriers. I also want to quickly point out ernest over on the right did end up finding the swamp teleporter, which I believe is valuable for him, because Turtle we have now seen make part of the swamp loop, but I don't know that either of them has actually been to the swamp teleporter yet.
Right, for sure. So we'll actually see if ernest is going to be utilizing that to save a little bit of time. I imagine that they will. Meanwhile, on the left, Turtle doing a really nice job to be able to utilize their skills. This pickup usually comes into logic with Glide Wind Restored, which ernest, we know, does have. If they did go back for Wind Restored, I think they might have. So they are not going to have to do that. But Turtle, without Glide, without Wind Restored, is going to be utilizing that fish in the nice speedrunner fashion of capability of doing various sequence breaks.
Muffin, right now I'm feeling a little bit torn. And what I'm feeling torn between is the exciting action of what's happening. We're seeing both of these runners clear these areas with some pretty clean execution, all things considered, of a lot of these tricks. But I'm also still thinking about the fact that ernest over on the right has Glide and Turtle does not. And Turtle, I think, is probably unlikely to find it, because one way or another, they're going to have to go through Sorrow Pass in order to get to the Charge Jump tree, and that's going to be very easy for ernest, and right now, it might be very difficult for Turtle.
Yeah, this is really tough as well, Grim, because we found Bash, and we found Stomp really early, which opens up the left side into Logic. So, like, it could be anywhere. And what Turtle really, really needs is another power skill, something like Dash, something like Charge Jump, or something like Sorrow Teleporter. If Turtle does find Sorrow Teleporter, that also could mitigate that advantage. And meanwhile, just trying to do a really difficult double bash chain on the left, not quite doing it, and is actively letting us know with some mouse movements that they are on the lookout for that water vein.
Muffin, why is this trick so difficult that Turtle's doing?
So every single shot actually has a different bit of physics that is associated with it. And so these shots here from these mortar worms have very, very fast horizontal acceleration, but they do not have very fast vertical acceleration and velocity. So when you're trying to move the shot over left to right, it is very, very difficult to not accidentally hit yourself. And so Turtle going to be opting to not go for that trick multiple times. Just felt like that, you know what, I'll just come back to it later. Hopefully water vein is not there.
Yeah, ernest on the right also now picked up clean water for parity with his opponent Turtle, which is really useful because Turtle over on the left, currently checking the underwater pickups in Swamp. There's a decent chance that water vein is down here at this point, given that we've already checked a bunch of stuff in Swamp, although Swamp has a lot of pickups, so no guarantees. 3 remaining pickups underwater.
Yeah, this is really true, Grim, and something that I actually just crossed my mind is that even if they find water vein, they actually have no way of doing Ginso Tree yet. Just simply because they can't get out of that second room, because you need some form of verticality to be able to do this. So this might be a blessing in disguise for our runner Turtle here. So they might just incidentally find Glide once they're digging for that next either power skill or a pickup like Grenade or Double Jump, which would augment their abilities with other skills or get them that bare minimum amount of verticality to get through.
Oh my god.
Oh, shoot.
Well, that's big. There's that water vein for Turtle on the left. It was that kind of bottommost pickup past the underwater crushers in the swamp water. That's something that ernest will probably end up checking when he decides to go to Swamp as well, but we'll see. That's good that that was there, because if it wasn't there, then that increases the likelihood that the pickup could have been grenade locked, but it wasn't, so let's just kind of abandon that line of thinking.
All right, on the right, ernest is going to be opting to do a little bit of a different route in order to be able to get up to that light grenade tree, which is possible thanks to them having Glide. If they didn't have Glide, there is like one single jump that you can do utilizing something known as coyote frames, which is like walking off a platform but still being able to jump. But it is incredibly, incredibly difficult. But having Glide They just have to do this really precise first run, and then they can end up getting up there.
Yeah, what Ernest is trying to do is possible. As Muffin said, it's just, oh, that's clever.
Oh, I've never thought to do that.
Oh, no! Well, you know what?
Failing.
It was still clever. We'll see if Ernest is trying it again. You have to bash that thing. This is a strat I've never seen before, so this is very clever. Gonna try it normally. Anyway, so Ernest is trying to get up to the grenade tree, up and then down, I suppose. Ernest will get the Sunstone for his effort once he gets there.
Grim, this is massive for Turtle. Turtle on the left finds Sorrow Teleporter. No longer is going to need Glide to be able to get through that section easily. It still is going to be a little bit difficult without something like Double Jump or Bash Grenade or even something like Charge Jump, but absolutely massive find for Turtle.
That's right. Now getting out of the Sorrow Teleporter area to the Charge Jump tree, I still don't think it's going to be a walk in the park, but I think it's doable. Anyway, over on the right, Ernest opened up a save anywhere, was finally able to get through that spinning laser section, carrying that save anywhere into the cutscene to skip it. We'll be getting the grenade tree and the Sunstone very shortly.
Very nicely done. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ernest does here, right? After grabbing this tree, they're going to effectively have pretty much every single right side tree that they want, except for Stomp Tree. It hasn't quite made it over to Stomp, so it will be interesting to see what Ernest does from here. Maybe goes to Stomp, or maybe starts tackling the left side trees.
Yeah, we have to think about traversing Ginso. Like you said, we have a lot of skills now which are very powerful, but still don't have the ability to make it through the second room of Ginso. We need Grenade would do it, Double Jump would do it, or Charge Jump would do it. Even Dash could do it, but it requires a pretty advanced Charge Dash ramp that I don't know if these runners know. I'm not saying they don't necessarily, it's just they might not.
Right, exactly. So on the left, actually, Ernest making an interesting play here is going to start heading over to Misty, of all places. This is really fascinating to me. Misty is going to be one of the harder sections to be able to close out, but having that bash skill is going to allow them to be able to manipulate enemies as well as projectiles in order to get through. And Glide giving Ernest the necessary air retention that is required for a lot of these spike fall sections that have no friendly ground. You literally have to get through all these damaging spikes to be able to progress.
Well, check this out. We see one runner left side. I think we're about to see both runners left side. Ernest just trying to get up high. Looks like Turtle maybe just thinking through his options for a moment. Does have that Sorrow Teleporter. Maybe isn't quite certain if he can successfully get out of it. Definitely a decision to be made.
Yeah, I like this from Turtle. It's just going to be a little bit more thorough. There's really three things that could really help Turtle out. Either going back to find that Glide pickup, which we know is right above the Sea Flame tree. The other one is getting more resources. Getting more health cells is going to allow for a little bit of additional survivability. And then the third and final case is actually finding other skills, right? Finding a skill that we haven't found yet. Literally finding Charge Jump would do it, or Dash, or Double Jump. Like anything. Like, as we mentioned, literally anything.
Yeah, blind searching can be rough and random, but it's nice when you know that what you're looking for is kind of anything.
Yeah.
As opposed to just one thing. So far over on the right, Ernest is doing a good job of getting through Misty. Having the feather makes some of these sections difficult, specifically trying to navigate these spikes. You can do it with damage boosts, but it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially without Double Jump. Meanwhile, Turtle over on the left is deciding to head towards the opening part of the Horu Fields. We'll see how deep Turtle goes in here.
Yeah, I like this play because it's going to get them really, like, 3 to 4 really fast checks, and also just get a teleporter to the final dungeon, which is nice. Oh, actually opting also to check multiple things in Horu Fields, potentially. This is really usually late in logic and requires a lot of additional skills to check. Nice, dodging that laser hit there is going to allow them to preserve a mega health, which is pretty much a temporary battery of some additional health. And so we're going to see how Turtle uses this effectively. Meanwhile, on the right, Ernest is right about to get to that climb tree itself.
Just kind of to review for anyone who may be unaware, the ultimate goal that we're doing here is a goal mode known as Force Trees, which means that we have to get all 10 skill trees. Some of them aren't technically trees like the feather, but basically all 10 skill trees and then complete the game. So as you just said, Ernest over on the right is about to get one additional tree. We have Ernest, who will be able to get to the Charge Jump tree very easily as well. Turtle, who's going to have a more difficult time, but we're still looking for that verticality to get through the second room of Ginso.
Yeah, it's so wild. It's like, it's a pretty rare thing to have happen, but this is like the perfect recipe for it, right? Bash start with like glide and wall interaction. Oh, Turtle accidentally double bashing a Baneling into their face. Maybe not certain that they can make this wall jump here.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yep. Barely makes it. Okay, now we know.
You know what, Turtle, if you watch this back, I didn't know if you could make that jump either.
I was not sure either myself. I've never tried that.
Yeah, so Turtle won't be able to finish the game from here, of course, because the randomizer executable will not allow you to actually finish the game before getting Alton trees in this particular go mode. But we'll still be able to get this teleporter, which means that the trip back here later will be faster, also getting that map stone. ernest on the right decided to teleport back to Swamp and check some additional pickups. I think both of them are just kind of searching for that extra verticality that they need.
Yeah, very, very nice play. I also like ernest's route here. This is actually very, very intentional to go up and over the tree, because this is going to skip an 18-second cutscene trigger that could be a little bit of unnecessary sort of like time. And wild, ernest is also just going to be coming over here, potentially going to Horu Fields. This one pickup here is going to be nice to check just because it comes very, very early into logic and is actually one of the few pickups that does not require any skills to be able to check. Finds a mega health and is going to be turning around. So we'll see what ernest does from here. Spider sack area, or is ernest going to be making the play to go back into Grotto for a little bit and go into Upper Swamp Loop? Yep, that is what they are deciding to do.
Yeah, routing around the right side is interesting. Whenever you're at this point in a randomizer seed, you generally want to play towards probability, which usually is equivalent to density. And right side of the map, as Muffin mentioned earlier, generally requires fewer skills to mostly or fully full clear. And in addition to that, the pickups often tend to be closer together. That's not true in all cases. For example, Sorrow can be pretty packed. Oh my gosh, ernest is going for Ice List.
Yeah, ernest with a really unfortunate timing for a level up there was actually going to use a frog to bash it over. And whenever you level up, you refill health and energy, get an ability point, but also you actually end up causing this massive area of effect, just giant explosion centered on your character. So a little bit unfortunate timing for that, but no problem. It's just going to backtrack a little bit and then come back over to go past the door to Ginso Tree to get access to Upper Swamp Loop. Meanwhile, Turtle on the left is indeed coming over here into Spider Sack area. Getting dangerously close to finding that glide pickup, Grim.
Yes, but there's an additional peril when you're at this point in a rando seed, which is that if Turtle finds something like Charge Jump, he might decide to just say, you know what, that's good enough, I'm out of here, and he might stop early. We'll see what happens. Turtle has, for the most part, been playing very thorough, as has ernest. So there's also a decent likelihood that Turtle decides to just continue checking. And of course, I don't know what pickups are going to be here. We'll find out very shortly. The good news is that Turtle over on the left does have plenty of energy to open up this 4 energy door.
Okay, and ernest also able to check some additional things that Turtle was not. This health cell here, Turtle had to skip. Fortunately for Turtle, that was just experience. And here we go. ernest is going to be checking a few more pickups and then potentially going through. But eyes on the left, as Turtle is just continuing to check one more pickup, and then we're going to see if they alt-R from here, or if they are going to go for glide.
Yeah, I want to point out over on the right, ernest found the Sorrow Teleporter. It's not something that ernest needs due to having glide and wind restored, but it will probably speed up getting to the Charge Jump tree.
Okay, Turtle, quit out and reload is not keeping the map stone, and Turtle, come on! Yes, okay. All right,
we're getting
Turtle
closer.
Yeah, he came over. I'm almost certain that Turtle is going to end up finding it. No, he don't.
Nope.
No, crap. No. Oh no.
What a tragic sequence of events. Of course, Turtle has no way of knowing that. From Turtle's perspective, that is a logical play. Although it's hard to say. I said a moment ago that you generally want to aim towards density, but you also hit points in these seeds where kind of you have to check whatever is available to you. At this point, neither runner has been to the Charge Jump tree yet. It's easier for ernest, although Turtle does have that Sorrow Teleporter that he could attempt to use, but even after that, they're going to need extra verticality to get through the second room of Ginso, which means they have to just keep checking things.
Right, so coming into this late game searching section, Grim, Turtle is going to make the play to come down here into Lower Valley, and I think this is probably the best possible place that they could actually end up checking. Best case scenario, they find something as they head down, and they find double jump. That is going to do it. Oh, whoops. Turtle is just accidentally going to have a little bit of warp, is going to quit out and reload, and then go back down there to check. Yeah, this is just because of like a tournament rule we have, folks. So don't worry about it too much. And then going to be going back for double jump. So that double jump there is going to allow them to be able to do Ginso Tree. Meanwhile, ernest on the right is going to be checking this pickup using double bashes. Accidentally hits themselves in the face with a shot. That is totally fine. That is a very, very difficult double bash sequence.
Mm-hmm. Double jump is not only going to let Turtle get through that second room of Ginso and all the way up to the bash tree, but is going to make getting out of the Sorrow teleporter area and to the Chargedom tree itself quite a bit easier. So that's cool.
Right, exactly. That's like probably one of the best pickups that they could have ended up finding, because there are like 3 skills that allow for some air retention outside of bash, which are double jump and glide, as you would imagine, but then dash is actually the other one that allows you to stay in air by canceling out your downward deceleration. Meanwhile, on the right, ernest connecting the first shot, but does not have the required verticality to be able to get up there into the pickup. So has to do this double bash chain again in order to be able to check this one pickup. And okay, this is the tough part. Getting down. Oh, I think that touched the ground.
Close.
Oh,
was able to save it from touching the ground, but then, as Melvin mentioned, on these double bash chains, you can't double bash yourself directly back in the direction that you bashed the projectile, or it will usually hit you and not only damage you, but fizzle the projectile, which is not the easiest thing to do when the projectile is affected by gravity. So I hope ernest gets this shortly. I believe this is a pickup that Turtle had to back away from, right?
Yes, indeed. Yep, they indeed ended up skipping that pickup and then going to the swim immediately. So we'll see what ernest ends up doing. Meanwhile, Turtle is in the second room of Ginso. This is actually the single room that requires a little bit of verticality, or dash, as Grim actually ended up mentioning. And so here, just getting through these gamer cycles, nicely done. We're going to see how much Turtle actually ends up digging as they're going to be going through Ginso. Double jump did actually come pretty early in logic, given the skill set that they actually end up having, but there could be nothing here.
I'm sorry, I want to interject. Ernest successfully completed this double bash chain and found the forlorn teleporter at this pickup, ran over to the left and hit the spikes and died. I thought that may have been intentional for a moment, but the fact that Ernest is trying it again indicates that it is not. What that means is Ernest is probably going to get this and turn around and go to Forlorn Ruins. That may be beneficial because we don't know what's in there, but we do know that double jump is not in Forlorn Ruins. So right now, Ernest still has that advantage of having Glide Wind restored, but Turtle is making progress on trees while Ernest is still in effectively blind searching mode.
Right, and this is a really important play for ernest, actually. And actually, if they do end up going to Forlorn and spending the time to do Forlorn Escape, I absolutely would be in support of that decision. Simply because the escape sequence in Forlorn has a little bit of a clue system that we added into the randomizer itself, is that if you do Forlorn Escape, there is a single plant at the end of the escape. And if you break that plant using Charge Flame, Dash, or Grenade, it will give you a hint as to where Grenade and Stomp are located on the map. And so it tells you the exact biome. And so if ernest actually ends up finding Grenade, this would get them the ability to do Ginso Tree. So this is actually a really heads-up play from ernest. Although for the stay of the race, we know this is a little unfortunate just simply because Double Jump is in Lower Valley.
Yeah, over on the right, Ernest is making that swamp swim, which means that Ernest will find that water vein at the lower right pickup within the water in the near future. Shouldn't take probably more than another minute or so, at which point we will see where Ernest goes next. As you said, probably Forlorn Ruins. Meanwhile, Turtle has another choice available. If I had to guess, yep, heading to the Sorrow teleporter. Turtle can use Stomp to break the barrier that gates the teleporter from the left side, and then hopefully progress safely to the Chargedom tree.
Right, and this definitely tells us that Turtle is focused on taking this into go mode, which basically means that all Turtle is going to try and do is get to the skill locations themselves, and then go and do the final escape. This is a really difficult skill set to use for like getting through this area in Sorrow Woods, and also Misty Woods itself. Did I say Sorrow Woods? You know what? Sure, let's combine them into one area.
No, the spikes are kind of like small trees. I could see it.
Yeah. And they are not as tasty as they look, folks, okay?
No, they're dangerous and they're mean. Turtle is having to struggle. Does have enough health to survive some hits, but obviously the fewer hits you can take, the better. The other good news is that Turtle has plenty of energy to make safety saves, both to checkpoint Turtle's placement and to get some health back. Grotto Teleporter is useless since we already have it unlocked.
Okay, meanwhile, on the right, ernest, also having found Sorrow TP, is going to be coming into the section. Utilizing Glide to great effect, but up here is going to be a little bit of difficulty for ernest, not having that double jump verticality to be able to get over these spikes. So has to either utilize a zombie Ori or go through in a different method. Meanwhile, Turtle, activating Charge Jump Tree, only has one more tree to activate before they are allowed to be able to start and initiate the final escape sequence.
Yeah, Ernest did take an unfortunate death over on the right. Is going to have to try this again. Is actually going to try to go over to the right. I don't know if you can actually... Or, I'm sorry, you can break this with a stomp, but it's difficult. The place that you have to stomp is not on the wall itself. It's a little bit to the left. It's a little bit odd. Did break it that time, but took a death immediately afterwards. Ernest currently only has enough health to survive 2 hits on these spikes.
Yeah, this is really tough too, because this is only the first half of the trick for ernest themselves. They're going to have to pretty much stomp it, Alt-R, which teleports them back to the start of the entire map, and then come back through the teleporter and use a spider shot to double bash all the way through that section. That's just like incredibly difficult. Is going to actually opt to Alt-R. I like this heads up play from ernest, and maybe use that Glide Wind Restored in Valley to be able to get access to Sorrow.
Yeah, over on the left, nice double bash sequence on one of the frogs in Lower Valley by Turtle to get to Misty Woods. It sounds like such a trivial thing to just get to the entrance of Misty Woods, but without Feather, you can't actually glide over there, which is what you do in the casual playthrough. And as expected, Ernest is heading into Forlorn Ruins. He's still going to have to go back for that Charge Jump Tree later, but I'll be very curious to see what we find here. This is an area that Turtle did not explore.
Yeah, this is absolutely massive for Turtle. Just simply because if Turtle just goes to this tree and goes into the final escape immediately, they have a lot of leeway. So even though the final escape might be a little bit tricky with this skill set, Turtle is just going to have so much time, because literally just coming through Forlorn and doing Forlorn escape especially, it's going to take minutes for ernest to be able to get through all of this.
Yeah, Forlorn, in the Ori community, we tend to meme about it, but it's actually a relatively dense area, especially if you get there through the teleporter rather than having to trek all the way through Valley to the front door. Smart routing so far by ernest, barely dodging that laser, is going to go up top and check these things first, before presumably cycling around more towards the start of Forlorn. There are, I don't know the exact number of pickups in here, but there's a handful of them.
Yeah, there's a number indeed, and so here ernest on the right is going to be checking this plant. Still not quite anything. We'll see if they actually end up deciding to go down into the lower sections of Forlorn, or if they're just going to go through the door to the escape. No, indeed is going to opt to check some additional things over here. Using the orb to walk up sideways, which causes us to have this weird warped gravity to get stuck to these blocks, and then jumping off of them to gain a lot of horizontal distance as we are quote-unquote falling downwards in that direction.
Yeah, Turtle over on the left is still continuing to check pickups in Misty, have a slightly tougher time getting to one of the hidden ability cells. Ernest is able to just float up with Glide Wind Restore, whereas Turtle had to do something a little more complicated. I am curious what Turtle is looking for, if anything, because the final escape is doable like this. It's not necessarily the easiest final escape, but it's doable. So, yeah, like I said, curious what, if anything, Turtle is looking for.
Right, for sure. And so here on the right, ernest is going to get one more check for a pickup in Forlorn, and then there is like 1, 2, 3 pickups outside of the door right there. So we'll see what ernest is going to opt to do here. If this pickup is not anything important, it's an ability cell, which is a nice resource, but at this state of the race, it is not required to be able to finish.
Now, one other thing that may be obvious to many of you, but there's no guarantee. We talked before about how to get through the second room again, so we needed one of a number of the skills that are remaining. But there's no guarantee that the seed is going to place those in reasonable locations. We know where double jump is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that charge jump or grenade or dash is at any of these easy locations. They could be super buried.
Yeah, so Turtle on the left, meanwhile, is having a little bit of trouble using the save to be able to get some health back on that. There is a thing you can do where you take some zombie Oris, as we saw Turtle utilize in order to get the light grenade tree. Instead is going to opt for those insane double bashes on those really difficult mortar worm shots. But I like this from Turtle, right? Turtle just knows they have to get through this one section in order to be able to get through. and has the health to be able to do this if they actually end up layering their double jumps properly.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to get around these bends. Double bashing spider projectiles in general is easier than double bashing these mortar projectiles because spider projectiles are not affected by gravity, whereas these worm ones are. Yep, I see what you see.
All right, ernEst on the right is going to be coming right to that double jump pickup and is going to check it and finds it. All right, ernEst with double jump. This is technically go mode. Yeah, the instant altar Grim. Just absolutely knows that is exactly what they needed in order to be able to finish out the seed.
Yeah, ernEst does still have to go to charge jump as well. I kind of might have expected floating upwards from there, but remember that ernEst has the Sorrow Teleporter and actually is going there first. That's kind of what I expected. That's a smart play. I don't know the exact timing offhand, but it's probably faster to do this rather than going up through the bottom route.
Yeah, for sure. And I like this play here, just using the double jump effectively to get here. Here's the section that they were struggling on earlier when they didn't have double jump. Getting to the highest point of the wall, double jumping, utilizing glide in order to get over, and then coming over into this section. Nice bash there on the spider projectiles. It's pretty easy from here. ernEst does know the setup, gets into a little bit of a nook, jumps, and then presses stomp like a teeny tiny bit later, and then gets to that charge jump tree. Only one more tree for ernEst. Meanwhile, Turtle on the left, heading back to Horu through the teleporter, but does not have glide for that final room, Grim.
Yeah, it's also interesting the Turtle decided to pump a bunch of ability points into that middle purple tree, the end skill being Sense, which is something that was custom added to the randomizer, which changes Ori's color dependent on proximity to certain powerful items. Turtle's supposed to do that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no. This looks like Turtle might not be comfortable with the final escape that they have in front of them, Grim.
Well, to finish my thoughts, by pumping those points into the purple tree, Turtle did not put those points towards Ultra Defense, which may have helped in the final escape. It's impossible to know exactly what Turtle is thinking, but as you said, seems like Turtle might not be comfortable with that final escape sequence, whereas it's going to be a lot easier for ernEst, and ernEst only has one more tree to go before going to Horu.
Okay, and we're going to see what Turtle does on the left. Meanwhile, ernEst on the right is going to be entering Ginso. Bashing off that spore there is going to allow them to get a bunch of height, using that double jump to be able to perfectly land on that very thin, narrow platform, and then accidentally just mistiming a wall jump there on the shot. No problem, just has to back down to be able to bash back up. Meanwhile, hitting into this second room for ernEst is going to be spending all those ability points, grabbing that triple jump ability that we see Turtle not able to quite grab because they were going for the purple tree.
Yeah, I think ernEst is one ability point short of Ultra Defense. I don't recall offhand whether there was enough experience or any just direct ability points.
There's some cells. There's some cells,
well, there we go. So that's enough for Ultra Defense. That will definitely help. Always does.
Yeah, for sure. So nice play from ernEst. We're going to see how many pickups that they are going to end up checking. On the left, meanwhile, Turtle coming back into the Moon Grotto area, which is a place that came into Logic very, very early, has a decent probability of finding a skill, but also the left side of the map is open, right? And so it's really tough for Turtle that we had such an intense start in terms of finding Bash and Stomp right at the beginning of the seed, because this really dilutes their chances of being able to track down a skill in these easy to access and quick to check areas.
Yeah, I want to point out something that we've been seeing in general for most of the seed at this point. There's a technique in Ori called bash gliding, where when you bash off of an object in a mostly horizontal direction and then go neutral on your directional input, you can maintain that faster bash speed. It's a technique that we saw a lot more in the vanilla version of the game, which is more or less obsoleted by dash, but of course this is randomizer and we don't have dash. Bash gliding can be especially effective if you have feather like ernEst does, and I've been seeing some very nice chains of bash glides from both runners all seed.
Okay, and here, oh boy, turning red on the left. Turtle finds that Wind Restored pickup. Not the skill they were looking for, but Turtle actually ended up getting an ability known as Sense, which is the final ability in the purple tree. And so that being said, this is actually modified and completely different and unique for the randomizer itself, because in the base game it just shows us the secret areas, but we already know all the secret areas and where they are. So instead, we changed it into sort of a hot-cold sort of a simulator. So you become a literal living metal detector for quote-unquote useful pickups.
This will also be curious because remember that the runners and us viewers and commentators still don't know where certain pickups are, so it's possible that Turtle will end up I'm gonna let you interject. There's some very exciting stuff happening.
Yeah, this is it, Grim. Turtle here literally just opts for the final escape. It is literally, as a fun phrase that is probably one of our favorites for these randomizer tournaments, is literally going to come down to execution in the final escape between our two runners. So Turtle might actually end up opting to check a few additional pickups that are going to be pretty nice and easy and quick to check in Sorrow itself before heading in there.
Yeah, remember that ernest still has that glide pickup, which is very, very powerful. If you just look at those skill wheels, you can see that they have the exact same set of skills except for glide, and at this point, it is virtually guaranteed that Turtle's not going to go back there.
Okay, really tough. Oh, sorry, go on, Grim.
No, I think I was going to say what you were going to say. This is not the easiest thing to get out of this. Again, it's something that seems so trivial, just get from the teleporter up to the door. But without a lot of verticality, that's not that easy.
Yeah, and it actually requires triple jump to be able to make that jump. You can't do it with just double jump alone. So Turtle not quite being able to make that additional verticality to get up there. And oh no, just the troubles with the Banelings is going to have them to have to check for some additional pickups potentially. Meanwhile, on the right, ernest is going to be starting the final escape, having pretty much the same skill set as Turtle with the addition of glide. And oh, Grim on the left! Turtle is turning red. It's oh no.
This seed has a mind of its own. Let's pay attention over to the right side as ernest is the first to begin this final escape sequence. There are just a few challenging rooms that require a little bit of timing to try to avoid damage, although ernest also has ultra defense and quite a bit of health. Thankfully, Bash makes getting through this lantern rune relatively easy, and remember that we have clean water for the end as well.
Okay, here next up is an elemental room. You don't want to touch the floor. It is literally on fire, Grim. Bashing off the first shot, bashing off the second shot, is able to get through that section, only has the clean swim to be able to get through, and then the final room.
We're so close, stomping down into the water to get out of Kuro's reach. There are two fish in the way. Now, you can either spawn Kuro here or you cannot. It is possible with just Feather if you're in just the right spots. Nice job by ernest.
Wow.
That's a relatively tight window.
Yeah, it's really, really tight, especially near the bottom, because the kill point is actually not a straight vertical line there for spawning Kuro to chase you. But ernest is going to be able to bash off the Sigma rocks, get into the final stretch. All ernest has to do is hold to the right for about a minute, and then they are going to be closing out their seed with a sub 1 hour time with a seed like this. I am very impressed to see this out of ernest.
GG. Very well played. And that little thing that we saw right at the end, ernest hopping up and using Feather to glide up out of Kuro's range, that is precisely the most difficult part of the escape, and I would imagine why Turtle is continuing to search for pickups. It is possible to get through there with his skill set, but it's not easy. Looks like Turtle having a little bit of indecision on where to go next as well.
Yeah, this is tough, but like the nice thing about Sense for Turtle is that you can check pickups within a radius, right? Because this is an item randomizer, so we don't know what a pickup is until we literally collect it. But with Sense, if Turtle just gets close enough to the pickup, they can know whether or not they actually need to dedicate it. And this works through things like walls. It works through things like barriers that we may not be able to get, right? So if we do have a grenade-gated seed here, it's going to allow Turtle to be able to know if they do actually need to track down grenades, to potentially find something that is going to be absolutely crucial for Turtle to be able to finish out. Of course, we saw ernest be able to go through the section that we see Turtle working through now, so we know that nothing's in here quite yet, but Turtle is going to be able to use Sense here to be able to get some good information. Meanwhile, on the right, congratulations to ernest, pulling a win here with a 59-22. We also have 18 other people who actually ended up running today, with a few stats from that. Coming in first place is going to be Cleanfell itself, earning a point for this seed today. And then second and third place are Jay Halcyon with second and Shafe with third. GG to our top three finishers overall, and GG ernest for taking a win with our preliminary showcase for this matchup. Meanwhile, as we watch Turtle going on through, we will most likely be bringing in our winner for a bit of an interview. Yep, okay, yeah. Grim, it seems like ernest is on deck, so I am going to go ahead and drag them into this voice channel here with us. Ernest, congratulations on your win here in the matchup. How are you feeling, my friend?
Thank you. Well, that was an interesting seed. I was searching for verticality so long, but found it eventually.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question in that regard. Obviously, we got Bash so early, which normally just gives you so much flexibility, but you were just walled on that second room of Ginso for so long. What's your general strategy in a seed like this, where you have to just kind of blindly search for verticality?
Mostly search for the pickup dense areas, or areas I haven't searched yet. I got forlorn TP, so into forlorn because of that. There's nothing there.
Yeah, nothing today. But that being said, also really cool play that you actually ended up doing was before heading over to like the grotto tree in the right side of the map, you actually opted to go all the way through Spirit Caverns, go through that 4-key door, and then decide to go towards Valley entry after finding Glide. Is this just sort of a play that you make when you have like an early Bash seed where you're going to make those left side checks and that power play for the tree? Or is that just sort of a spur of the moment decision you made for the seed itself?
Just more of a spur of the moment because I was there and had Stomp and Bash, so I decided to go to the Glide first.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart decision. And like clearly it paid off, especially finding Glide and getting the tree, right? And then just grabbing the teleporter and going out. Very, very nice play.
Yeah, I'm also curious. Of course, in this seed, you ended up finding that Sorrow teleporter, which is a fantastic find. Do you think you would have felt comfortable getting to the Chargedom tree from the bottom, given that you had Glide Wind Restored? Just because I know Sorrow can be such a weird area with different skill sets.
I mean, I could have gotten there, but I think I would have taken the long way around with the lasers. So the story TP definitely saved me a lot of time.
Right, for sure. Meanwhile, on the left, a little bit of attention to our runner, going to be checking these pickups outside of Forlorn. Of course, we do actually end up knowing that there was nothing in Forlorn proper as well as right outside Forlorn. Alt Ring out, and then, oh yeah, they're circling the skill wheel, trying to signify that they're looking for one of the two power skills or maybe Grenade to be able to finish out.
Yeah, well, Ernest, I have just one more question for you. With this win under your belt, and we're getting closer and closer to the actual bracket stage, are there any particular areas of the game that you feel you would like to practice or strats that you want to learn, or would you say that you're generally happy with your play?
I would like to learn dash gliding because I don't really know how to do that.
Sure. It's a fun
I
trick.
think it can save a lot of time and help with the plane skip. So it can be useful.
Cool. Very nice, Ernest. Congratulations once again on your win. Good luck with the rest of the preliminaries, as well as going into the bracket stage. Very, very fun match to watch today. And thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Okay, meanwhile, on the left turtle, we see coming back into this area, into Horu. We're going to see if they are going to check a list of pickups or if they are just going to actually opt to go towards the final escape itself and maybe try and get through.
I'd say this is every rando player's nightmare, a situation where you know that you can finish, but it kind of sucks. and so you have to try to decide to check dense areas, as Ernest mentioned. But even so, by this point in the seed, most of the relatively easy dense areas have already been checked. Looks like we're seeing Turtle go and check this room that we call L4 because it is the fourth room down on the left side of Mount Horu.
Yeah, this is nice. There's going to be 2 to 3 pickups here, which are going to be pretty easy to check. I think it's just 2. First, this pickup here, just an ability cell, and then is going to activate the escape sequence here, using wall jump and double jump as well as bash to be able to go across here. And then against this gigantic lava wave, the safety strat here is to actually just Alt R out, teleporting back to the start area, and then just use Horu TP again, but is able to actually do this escape with the skills that they have.
Yeah, Turtle's having a little bit of trouble with this wall jump sequence. Most of the walls in Ori and the Blind Forest are pretty literal to the geometry of what they look like. So right now, I think the way to get through this is you kind of have to jump deeper into this wall than you maybe think you have to. Yeah, there we go, and then double jump out of it. There's kind of there's a little bit of magic to learning the specific set of ways that all the different walls behave. Nice stall in the air to avoiding the lava beam as well.
Yeah, very, very nice. And destroying that floor with a lava wave is going to allow them to actually get to the heart area itself. Oh, there is another pickup there. Okay. I always forget. Like Horu is one of those areas especially. This is why it's impressive to see Turtle going through, but sees Ori turning red and it's Grenade. Oh boy. Okay, there it is.
Well, we said before that some of these remaining skills might be buried. We see Turtle just spamming these grenades in either celebration or anger, one of the two.
Yeah.
I think that counts as buried.
Yeah. All right, heading back immediately into Mount Horror. This definitely looks like a play to potentially go to the final escape. And the reason why Turtle was digging so much is that there is a way to get through without grenade bash in the final room itself by doing a really precise set of bashes with a fish, but it is incredibly difficult, whereas grenade is just going to allow them to set that up themselves while standing on the ground instead. So very, very nice showcasing off door warp. It looked like door warp and then it failed. That was weird.
So door warp, for anyone unaware, is a trick that we thought was frame perfect. There might be some weirdness to it. The point is that you can enter the door near when the game loads and get teleported down to the bottom of Mount Horu, which kind of happened because the camera went down there, but then it came back up. I'm not... What?
Oh, weird. Okay.
Strange as afoot.
Yeah. It's okay. This is a video game.
The good news is that you can just take out this mini boss. It's not the easiest mini boss to kill because there's a lot of different mortar worms on the wall just pelting you with lava projectiles, but there we go, it's down. Turtle with less than 1 health remaining is going to make it to the start of the final escape, and then we'll just have to get through that.
Nicely done. And coming over here for quote-unquote validation pickup. This is like a pickup you would always skip if you're like coming to this area, right? Because you're just going to go to the final escape and finish it out. But is going to just go ahead and come over and show us what indeed it is. Does not turn a color. We'll see. Yep. Turtle is absolutely dedicated to making this pickup happen.
You know, I like it. To me, this is I don't know if sportsmanship is the right word. It doesn't really have anything to do with sportsmanship, but I like it. You know, it's kind of like it's a fun pickup to check. I guess I don't know for sure whether Turtle is watching the race window, but I think the Turtle probably knows that he's lost this matchup. 1v1 at least versus ernest. Remember that there are more racers in this preliminary than just these two, but has lost the head-on-head.
Right, for sure. And so here, Turtle is going to be activating the final escape. We're going to see how they do. Grenade actually does help in more than one section to be able to make them a little bit quicker and a little bit safer overall. Let's see how Turtle does here. Oh, there was 1 XP on the final escape. Oh, that's funny.
Yep, a handful of good bash glide sequences. The first obstacle is just to get past this room, make sure you don't touch the lava, and make sure you don't get bonked by the flaming boulders. This is the room that we generally call the lantern room because there are 3 lanterns in it. Nice use of the grenade to not have to wait for the flame pillar.
All right, coming into here for the elemental room itself, they have charge flame, which is going to allow them to break this wall, but they do have a certain amount of time to be able to get through here before they might have a little bit of trouble, because this does trigger this walkway over here to start, catching fire. And so if you take a little bit too long in that room, you actually end up just getting hit by the floor that is on fire there.
And of course, we just get to see that lovely 1 experience. Experience values are generally randomized, but there is exactly one XP. And of course, it's right there. Another good use of a grenade. To get up top, Turtle is going to have his second attempt. You can break this vertical barrier with a number of techniques. Charge Flame is one of them. Just has to get up out of these spikes and hopefully not get singed. Good job getting through that room. Is going to be coming up to the water next.
Excellent. Very nicely done from Turtle getting through that section. It's very important for us to point out here that Turtle does not have glide. So not having that extra air retention that we actually ended up seeing out of ernest as they did the final escape earlier. But here it is, Grim. The really difficult room to be able to get through. Oh, that second grenade looks a little low, but with a precise double jump, gets up there first try. Way to go, Turtle. That is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, important to note that even if Turtle had spawned Kuro, it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world, but it would be closer to the end of the world. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Good execution by Turtle. Made it out of the final escape. Time for Turtle will be in about, what is it, a minute 20-ish? Something around there.
Yeah, something around there. Very, very nicely done from Turtle to be able to close out. And this is like one of the most impressive things to me, especially with lesser experienced runners or people who are like in sort of the intermediate ranges of amount of seeds that they've done, is that like knowing how to utilize a skill set in really particular fashion, especially when you might be having some nerves while you're on a stage like this for speed gaming and just like showcasing them off. Meanwhile, Turtle just showing off how much fun we like to have in the community, just spamming that pickup there, the 1 EXP. There is a single pickup that is 1 EXP, and it ended up being on the final escape. And this was sort of a shout out to the single arrow that is in the Link to the Past randomizer.
Yeah, a good performance on both sides. As we said, time for Turtle will be coming up very shortly. Still just spamming that 1 XP. You can press a bind to show the thing you got last, which is what Turtle is doing.
All right, here we go. About 10 seconds to go as Turtle is going to start. We're going to see if they end up doing... Yep, here we go. The Naru optimizations. This is incredibly important for the swag factor. It actually loses you like a little bit of time every single time you do a hop. So just maximizing swag and memes while maybe losing a teeny tiny bit of time. And we'll see if our runner would like to join us in for a quick little interview. Yep, it looks like Turtle is on deck, so just going to be dragging them down immediately into this. Turtle, GG, my friend. How are you feeling?
Oh my god. Oh my god. That second half of the seed was just brutal. Holy crap.
Well, let's jump right in. I'll ask you a question which I think I know the answer to. At one point in the seed, you had all of your skill trees out of the way, which means that the final escape was accessible, but you continued searching. What were you looking for, and what portion of the final escape were you most worried about while you were doing that?
I was looking for height gain for that final room. I wanted either charge jump, so I could just jump past that Kuro trigger, grenade, which I obviously got and then used, or dash, because then I could have done fish strats, but oh my god. I didn't find any of those for the longest time, and I was just like, I need one. Where?
And of course, it was buried in Horu.
Of course.
Yeah, really. So in the early game, a question for you. I know that was like over an hour ago, so that might be hard to remember. But like, you made a very interesting sequence break where instead of going up through like Spirit Caverns, right, with wall interaction and Charge Flame and Bash, to go through like Spider Sack area and Upper Swamp, right, to get access to the right side, you took a Frankian boulder escape. Is that something that you've practiced? And is that something that you're just always going to do? Or are there certain conditions that you sort of have in mind of when you use that Frankie to, or Stomp in order to go directly into Grotto or not?
I don't like that cutscene. The cutscene that plays up by Grove TP. It's really long, and if you want to skip it, you don't get the teleporter for later. So
Right.
My thought was, I'm not going to watch that. I'm going to go into Grotto, and I'm going to rush 6 trees as fast as I can, because I wanted the hints as soon as possible.
Interesting.
I have one more question. At any point, did you consider doing a double bashed Sorrow Bash? That's not a loaded question saying you should. I'm just genuinely wondering.
I definitely thought of it, but I knew that like as soon as I got in through Valley, which was really early, as soon as I got through Valley and got the glide tree, I didn't have a lot of ability cells. So my favorite way to get through Sorrow Bash without glide is not Tumbleweed, it's zombieing. And I didn't think I was able to zombie, so I decided to put Sorrow off until later, which didn't end up paying off because I found Sorrow TP.
Right. Well, very, very nicely done, Turtle. One more question to you, and then we'll actually end up closing out for the evening. How are you feeling about the rest of your prelim matches? Do you have any sort of goals to sort of close out, or are you just putting your mind on brackets and getting ready to compete there?
I think my strategy is going to be play every other seed better than this one, because I think this was probably my worst prelim so far.
Yeah, I actually really hope you watch this back, because the race was really, really insane and had a lot of really good moments. From Ernest for sure, but especially from you. You did a phenomenal job, Turtle.
Thank you, Muffin.
Yeah, GG. And GG again to Ernest on your win. Very fun showcase to watch. Good luck in future matches, prelim or otherwise.
All right. Well, that being said, folks, we're going to wrap up here for tonight. Major thanks to Jamal for restreaming. Thanks to Enri and Fox Diamond for the help with the stats during the run itself. And thank you to Grim for helping me with commentary. I'm Covert Muffin, who is also on comms. Tomorrow, the action is not over yet. every single day for the rest of the week, including multiple matches on the weekend. We're going to have more Ori action for you here on one of the Speed Gaming channels. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be showcasing off a special matchup with Sirius versus Liftoff. And that'll be once again at 3 p.m. Eastern on one of the Speed Gaming channels. But from all of us here from the Ori and the Blind Forest Randomizer community, we wish you a good night and hope you enjoy the rest of the series.
Feel it?